Hi everyone, I'm going to do another process video today. This one is for a layout that I did using the Good Day Sunshine kit and add-on from Scraptastic from the month of March. And I just held up a photo there of a bunch of tools that I had pulled out. I received some feedback from some of my subscribers recently that they would love to see me use more tools. So I'm going to try to do that. I just snapped a picture of a bunch of tools just so that I could keep it out on my desk and remember which tools I have that I'd like to use. So you just see me now going through the Good Day Sunshine kit, which I had brought to a crop with me, so it was all in bags and little pouches and stuff. So I'm going to be scrapbooking that photo of my cat, which you saw there. I have it printed up in black and white because that's what I was planning to scrapbook it in, but I also printed it up in color just because I love the warmth of her color so much that I decided to print it up in that just in case. But I knew I wanted to use a gray and yellow color scheme, so I knew that those warm browns were not going to match with the layout I was doing today. I printed it up anyways just in case, and what I will probably end up doing is using that brown photo in my pocket page later on this month. So my main goal for this layout was actually to use at least one of those flowers from the Prima package of flowers that came in this kit. I'm not a big flower user, so I wanted to make sure that I at least got one of those flowers onto a layout this month. So I'm going to use that white one. And I'm just kind of familiarizing myself with some of the embellishments and items that come in the kit. These chunks of paper just kind of came together almost on their own with that strip of gray paper, which is actually the back side of the yellow brick paper. So that paper is from Kaisercraft from the Shine Bright collection. And I really want to use this stencil in this layout, and I was thinking about stenciling that tag, but I really love how crisp and white it looks, so I'm not actually going to do that. But instead, I'm kind of playing around with some embellishments, which I usually wait until the end to do that, but in this case, I'm just kind of trying to plan my paper layering to allow for some embellishments in certain places. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this stencil on the background paper, and that white cardstock came in the kit. And as I was mentioning, I've already used this kit, so a lot of these papers were already cut into the shapes that, well, they all were. I haven't done any cutting yet. They all were already in this shape just from having used the kit already. And so I'm just going to cut this chevron paper a little bit. It's not really a chevron, it's kind of like a zigzag on an angle, and it's from Studio Tech Direct, and I love all of their paper these days. And so I'm just going to cut it off I squared it off with my trimmer. And then those other two pieces, I'm just going to leave them as they were. And now I'm trimming up this photo, even though it is not the photo that I'm going to scrapbook, because it has a couple of imperfections in it because my printer needed its print heads to be cleaned. So you'll see me just snapping a couple of photos with my phone along the way as I decide different things. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take these layers apart in order to lay them all down. Well, I'm not pretty sure, I actually know that. And so I keep taking pictures just so I can remember how to put it back. What you see there is my little carousel that Allison sent me. She's Good Grief You on YouTube, and she sent me that quite a long time ago, and I still use it for all of my ink tools. And so, sorry, it's way too bright. I adjusted the brightness on my video camera, the exposure, and I adjusted it so that it actually is very, very, very close to real. I mean, it is. Like, my hands are that color, and my shirt is that color, and all these papers are true to color on this video, which is not the way that it's been up until now. And so you might have noticed that a lot of my videos were quite a bit darker than they once were, and that's because I got the exposure setting set incorrectly on my camera for a while there, and I just couldn't figure out how to fix it. So what I'm doing here is I'm using that tool to, but I guess one of the problems with having the exposure fixed, better finish that thought there. One of the problems with having the exposure fixed is that now it's easy to blow out and lose the detail when I do close-up. So I'm gonna try to figure out how to work that out. So I am just kind of repeating this stencil and I'm not being too careful about lining it up, but I want it mostly lined up. So I'm just taking a strip of scrap paper here just to use a straight edge to finish off my stenciling so that it ends on a crisp edge, because it started on a crisp edge. So I wanted it to be like that. And you can really see that I pieced it together here. Sorry that's what I mean. I can't do those kinds of close-ups anymore where I lift it up and show it right close to the camera. Instead, I have to zoom in, but I will figure that out. Don't worry. So there's how that layer looks, and I'm just kind of feeling like I wish that it was a plus layer, and there's pluses on this layout, and so it's sort of, and the shape of the layered papers also makes a plus. So I've decided to make my stenciled background also make the shape of a plus. So I'm just going to add some right here. Some stenciling. I'm just looking for that scrap piece of paper now because I actually didn't want the stencil to go over quite so far, but I wanted to line it up over on the right hand side with the pattern that was already there, so that's why I did it this way. And now I'm going to do it the same thing over here, and I'm just trying to line it up so that it looks like a plus. And you're not going to see any of that part that I didn't ink because it's going to be covered with my layers. So, and I need just a tiny, tiny bit more right here. So you see me taking off the washi tape there. That's just so that I can see through the stencil to line up the pattern that's already on the paper with the pattern that I'm adding. So, and I'm using Smoky Slate ink by Stampin' Up, and it is the lightest gray that I have, and I really like it a lot. So I just kind of zoomed you in so you could see that up close. Now I'm going to put away my inks, or I guess my little inking tools. And I'm just grabbing a piece of vellum, and I already had a couple cut at 4x6, and so that 4x6 piece is going to do the job just perfectly, so I actually don't have to cut into any of the vellum that I have in my little vellum drawer there. And now I'm going to emboss this, and I'm looking for my Chamel wood grain embossing folder, but it was already out on my desk. That's why it wasn't in my little orange box. So now I'm grabbing my Big Shot, and I'm putting it on tab 1, and running it through, and it embossed so deeply that it actually ripped in a few places. So I'm not sure, I usually emboss on tab 1, but maybe I should be embossing on tab 2 now. I'm not sure. But it's fine. It didn't rip so badly that you can tell or anything, but it is quite deeply embossed. And with vellum, sometimes you need to go a little lighter. So I'm just kind of putting my design back so that I can remember how I want the layers to go. And now I'm just going to work backwards from the bottom of that kind of plus sign there, and I'm looking for some dimensional adhesive, and I'm just going to lift up the horizontal, like the top and the bottom horizontal lines on each of the pieces of paper that I'm layering here, except for the vellum. The vellum is just going to sit flat. What I like about the embossed vellum is that once you emboss it, it's actually more gray. Like you can, it's a little bit less see-through, and it's less subtle. So before I embossed it, you could barely see the vellum, and now you can definitely see the vellum. So I'm not being too careful about putting these layers in exactly perfectly. I don't want them too askew, but they don't have to be perfectly lined up, because a layered layout is nice when it's not completely perfect. Or at least that's what I tell myself. I like it not perfect. So I'm just showing you how all of the tops and the bottoms of those papers are turned up, and they're just supported with pop dots that I don't remove the adhesive backing from the bottoms of my pop dots. I just use them as basically they're space savers. Like they just hold the space. They hold the papers up from the papers below them a little bit. So I am going to make my title, which I'm not entirely sure what it is right now. I'm thinking it's going to be all Paws. But then I really want to use the word hello. And once I spell out all Paws, you'll see that it looks like it says hello all Paws. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I ended up going with just Paws. And then it sort of looks like it says hello Paws, which at least makes a little bit better sense than hello all paws. But my intention is actually for the name of this to be Paws. And the hello is just kind of there as an embellishment. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. It kind of matters and it kind of doesn't matter, right? The way that I'm talking about it. But anyways, so here I am just kind of playing around and noticing the fact that that hello is not going to make sense with the all there. But if I just put, I mean, if you want to call it hello Paws, that's fine too. But I really like the hello. It's just so, I like that it's white, and I like that it's kind of delicate and very thin and scripty. So that's what I really like about the word hello. And I really want to make sure that it's on the layout as a design element. So I'm just playing around with the placement of this photo. I had to scooch it up a little tiny bit. And what I'm mindful of here is where the word P is going to overlap that photo. I don't want to cover her eye. I'd rather not cover her ear, but if I'm going to push it down so that I would have to have the photo either up too high or the word down too low in order to not cover her ear. So I am going to cover her ear, but I definitely didn't want to cover her eye. So that's why I shifted that photo up a little tiny bit. And yes, so I was looking for, I had ripped up the packaging for this, and I was looking for one of my little bags to put it in, but it turned out that that bag didn't fit these We Are Memory Keepers letter stickers, so I'm just going to leave these letter stickers plain without the little storage bag. Okay, so here I am. I've put back the letters for the word all, and I've just got the letters Paws. And I would have liked the kind of the negative and the positive for the title, for the different parts of the title. Like the word all was the positive of those letter stickers, and then the word Paws would be the negative. But there, I just reprinted that photo at the exact same size and cut it down, and now I'm just putting it right over top. Rather than pulling it off, I just decided to put it over top of it. So I'm going to run the Hello die cut through a little sticker maker. It's just slightly too big for my 1.5-inch Xyron X, so I just sent it through my Xyron 1.5-inch sticker maker. And this is a machine that I haven't used very much since I bought it, so I'm just kind of trying to use it a little bit more. And unlike the X, the larger sticker makers take off that little piece of cellophane that sits over top, and so you kind of have to take a minute to get any of the residual goop, like adhesive, off of that little die cut before you put it on your project. It's a lot easier to get that little residual glue off before it's on your layout, because once it's on your layout, it's going to stick to stuff. So I'm just being careful of my placement here. I want the word hello to be in the right place relative to the word Paws, but I also don't want to cover up that cute little place where her whiskers are. And so I didn't want hello to cover her whiskers. At first, I'm putting these stickers down so that there's space between them. I really like that look, and I did that for another layout, for the Crop and Create Moncton layout, but I don't like it here. I'm going to scooch them over together because I'm finding the little lines in this case a little bit distracting. So that with them all scooched up together, then you just see the outlines for the words, for the letters Paws. And now I'm just running another little piece through my 1.5, and this is the little bracket. It's from the alphabet from Bella Rouge that came in the kit. It's a little acrylic alphabet, and it's really cute with these little squiggle, like little sketchy lines all over it. I'm not using any letters. I just wanted to use the bracket as a decoration. It was sitting on my desk from, I don't know why, but I just decided to use it because it looks cute there beside the word hello. Just another little decorative element. And now I am kind of going back to thinking about how I'm going to use that tag again. I have some yellow and white baker's twine here that I'm going to put through the tag. And I thought about embossing that tag, but I really love the look of tags. Like especially like these kinds of tags that are actual shipping tags. I love them. And so by embossing it, I think it would kind of take away. I'm just showing you there that I'm placing that flower so that you can see the bottom right hand corner. I want to see both corners on this tag. I find when I cover up the edges of a tag, I lose the tag effect, and I like to keep the overall shape of the tag so that your brain just kind of fills in the gaps where the flower covers it. I don't want you to wonder how long the tag is. I want you to know exactly where it ends, I guess is the reason I do it that way. So I just used some glossy accents to glue that acrylic plus sign, the yellow plus sign, right above the flower and off to the edge. And I really love that plus, all of the pluses that came in this kit. So I'm happy to get a chance to use them. And I'm just going to do kind of 2 embellishment clusters, one over here on the left side and one on the right side of the photo. And I'm layering that chipboard heart from the Bella Rouge collection from Pink Plate Paisley that came in the kit. And now I have these Kaisercraft die cut pieces. They come in beautiful shades of gray and yellow accents. And I really love these die cuts, and I'm really wanting to put a lot of them on this layout. So you'll see me just kind of go through each one, and any ones that might go on the layout, I'm kind of sticking around the layout in different places. And then ones that I know won't go on the layout, I'm just putting into the pile on top of the packaging. So sometimes I can tell right where I want it to go, and if that's the case, I'm putting it in that spot, and if I don't know where it's going to go, I just kind of put it someplace and let it wait until I can decide. So you see that now I have 3 clusters of embellishments. I have one here to the right of the photo, one over to the left of the photo and sort of underneath of the title, and then one up above the photo, kind of centered on the layout. And now these ones here that say this moment and today, I'm not going to leave those there because it's too, I'll tell you about that when I move them. So right now I'm focusing on getting that top cluster. It's not quite looking the way that I want it to. That gray arrow is not right there. The word love, that I wanted something a little bit heavier for up there just to balance off. There's quite a lot of dark on this layout, and I just wanted to spread it so that I have sort of like a triangle of the really dark colors. So the word Paws is one of them, the word love is one of them, and then that heart circle that slid underneath of the white flower is the other. So those 3 pops of really dark, heavy elements form a triangle around the photo. And so I'm still playing around with those 2 die cuts, but I'm not going to put them there because I like the corner of that photo to show, that bottom left-hand corner, and I didn't like how those elements, it just seemed too busy. I want to stick with the 3, and adding those banners there just made it look not quite like 3 anymore. It kind of looked more random. So here I'm just gluing one element to another so that I could have a little handle to stick that shape into my punch. That's a Stampin' Up! Punch called Curly Label. And I just punched the back side of one of the Kaisercraft die cuts. I'll never use that many die cuts, so I don't mind sacrificing one of them for a piece of white paper. I could have gone into my stash to find white paper, but it was handy, so I just grabbed a die cut. These are little tiny doilies from my stash that I'm actually not going to use, but I took them out because I basically wanted something white underneath of that gray chipboard heart from Pink Paisley, and I wasn't sure if that curly label would do it or not, so I pulled out those doilies, but I'm not going to use them. I like the curly label quite a lot, so I'm going to leave that there. So now I'm just adhering some of these die cuts that I had already placed, and now I just have to go back, pull them out, add some adhesive, and stick them back in. So this is a piece of trim from my stash. Actually, my friend Stephanie gave me that. I think it came in a Studio Calico kit, and I really like it. It's yellow and white, and it's just perfect. I just wanted something a little soft to go underneath of that curly label shape. And the curly label shape is very plain. I would normally outline something like that, but nothing else is outlined on this layout, so I've decided to just leave it as it is. And so now I'm just using a little bit of mono multi adhesive Tombow Mono Multi-Adhesive, and I'm just sticking that acrylic plus sign right on the edge of that heart, and I'm just placing it so that it doesn't interfere with the overall shape of the heart. So I didn't want it to cover the little corner at the very top of the heart. I wanted it down a little bit from that. And just finishing up that tag by adding the black die cut piece in there with some adhesive. And now I'm going to place it. And I haven't pushed it down until I decide where I want that black plus sign to be, so that I'm able to put the plus sign where I want it to be and the tag doesn't interfere with that. And again, I used some more Tombow Mono Multi for that. And I switched from glossy accents. I use glossy accents in that Tombow Mono Multi pretty much interchangeably, except that the glossy accents is shiny. So if I think there might be any seepage, I'll usually switch to the Tombow, and that's why I did that here. I didn't want it, just in case there was a little bit of seeping. I didn't want anything shiny around these acrylic pieces because they're shiny. They should be the only shiny thing. So see how I moved the Today banner up above the W and the S, and I also added the Love This banner there as well. So now I'm up here in this top corner, and I'm just going to adhere these die cut pieces in the places that I've already decided that they'll go. And I'm just looking around my craft room right now for some ATG refills. I knew I had brought some on the crop, but I couldn't remember where I put it when I got home. So I'm just going to really quickly change my glue gun. The reason I use this glue gun is that the adhesive lasts for a really, really long time. You don't have to change your machine very often when you use this kind, and it's very quick and easy to change. And so that's why it's also a cheap way. Like the refills are fairly inexpensive, so it's a pretty cheap way of using adhesive as well. So I'm just placing these so that you can see the word thankful, even though I don't know what I'm thankful for, but I just wanted to be able to see that word. And now I'm going to do a little tiny bit of journaling here underneath the word notes. It says Nixie is all paws, basking in the sun. And I know I'm going to tuck most of that card underneath the layers, so I didn't want too much of it. So I didn't want my journaling to be too long. I don't need to journal too much. I mean, it's basically that my kitty is really cute, and that's all that I really needed to say about it. I have other layouts that talk a little bit more about her, and I talk about her in my pocket pages. And so, you know, I don't need a page to say every single thing about a topic, because my scrapbooking is ongoing. So eventually if you follow along my scrapbooks, you will see lots of things about Nixie and learn about her slowly over time. So I'm just, I ran those through my Xyron X, and I don't know why I haven't been using my Xyron. Here was a last minute edition of this Shine Bright flare badge from the Scraptastic kit. It's an exclusive piece to the kit, and I really like what it adds to that little cluster right there. I really like that. I didn't think I'd be able to add that flare badge, so that's just one more example of why it's worth it to just try stuff out and see how it looks, because I wouldn't have expected that I'd be able to get that flare badge on the layout without it looking too cluttered. And so one more time, I'm trying to see, okay, well, maybe I can add something else, but no, I don't want to. It's too much then. So I was going to sprinkle here, and then I'm not going to give up my cake box. Who am I kidding? The thing about that other box for the sprinkles is that, like for splattering stuff, is that it's not much bigger than a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So it's hard to sprinkle the edges if you're worried about sprinkling outside of the box. So this box is plenty large, and I wanted to sprinkle around the edges of this one. So I'm going to use my milk paint today instead of mist for sprinkling. And so you'll get to see a little bit of that. So milk paints are a creamy powdered paint that you add some water to, and I just have these little I guess they're little dip containers that I bought from eBay. We bought them for our kids' lunches, and I have two different shades of gray, and I was just going to tell you the shades, but they're actually not labeled. So you add, the ratio is supposed to be 1:1. I put a little bit more water in them this time just to see how it turns out. I've been mixing them 1:1, but I thought one of these days I'd try. I already had some black mixed up from before, so that's why you see that third little thing there. I thought about sprinkling black on this, but I changed my mind. So I just have my little paintbrush there. That's actually from the Metropolitan Museum in New York. My sister gave me that, and I wasn't getting a splatter in the spot I wanted, so I just kind of made a spot there. And I have the 2 different shades of gray, a dark gray and a light gray, and I'm just splattering them. And now that I look at it, the splattering that landed in the bottom the bottom left-hand corner is a little overkill. I think if I had done a diagonal stripe that went from the top left to the bottom right, it would look a little bit better. I didn't need sprinkles in that bottom left-hand corner, but it doesn't look too bad with it there. The thing about this milk paint, and it could be that it's because I made it a little bit more diluted with water this time, but it does take a while to dry. So I'm using my heat gun here. If I had used mist, it would take a while to dry too, because I'm sprinkling it on cardstock as opposed to pattern paper. And so this would have soaked up into the paper a little bit better if it was pattern paper. But I do think that milk paint takes a little bit longer to dry than mist, even on a cardstock, like a waxy cardstock surface. So there's the layout. I think it's all done. Oh no, I just have to add a couple of enamel dots. So I'm putting a black one and a white one on my little heart there, and then I'm going to put one on the flare badge and one up on that little heart die cut there. And that's about it. So now I'm just going to show you the close-ups of this. You'll see some photos at the very end, but first I'm actually going to kind of zoom in and show you around the layout. So the paint is almost dry, and you'll see how it's a different look than the mist. It definitely It's definitely a little bit more see-through than paint, but less see-through than mist. And it doesn't have any shininess to it at all. It's very flat and powdery, almost chalk-like. So there's that cluster with the flower. I left the flower flat. It's a little bit pliable, and you could pull up the petals a little bit and bend them a little bit if you wanted a little bit of extra texture or detail to it. So you could play around with the flowers for sure. I think they're wired or something, that like the trim around it has some type of flexibility to it. It stays put if you bend it, is what I'm trying to say. So here's my photo, and the photo is more true to color. I think my video camera has a slight yellow tinge to it. So this is what the layout actually looks like. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and have a really great scrappy week.